This is Bob Brown, and we're doing B Cubed Wednesday evening. Uh, it's always good to shake things up a little bit. Oops, let me move my camera. I was sitting here so worried about helping. Helping. I was watching as technical difficulties were happening. Uh, but we got you in. We have learned here in the last 6 weeks or so that Restream does not.
Uh-oh.
Goodbye, camera. Goodbye.
I don't know what just happened. Let's see if I can get it
Well,
back.
who's to say? But you know what the beautiful thing is? We can still hear
What's
you. And
yes.
this
Well,
way, if you got somebody in there that's helping you, they can do it without people looking at their head, the top of their head.
right, right.
But
Okay.
so what we're doing here tonight is we're talking to Kathleen Herman. Now, Kathleen is a poet, an epic poet. You got a few collections out, don't you?
Yes, yes. I've been published in lots of anthologies. In these times, my focus has become activism, poems that address the challenges that we're looking at. Okay, whoa, I'm losing the screen, but I think I'm coming back. And Bob, you can still hear me?
Well, I've got two of you now,
Oh dear.
and I
All
don't know
right.
which one to keep. So say something so I know which one to keep.
Okay, I took one away. Um,
Okay.
so I think we're good now.
We're going to get viewers just tuning in to watch poets try and handle tech.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, certainly not my forte. Um,
I actually, while I love poets, uh, when I was young, I contemplated being one, but the idea of living indoors appealed to me. But no, I find there are patterns with poets, and I just love every minute of it.
aha.
Well, in at BQ Press, when you say you're in a lot of anthologies, I don't know how much other anthologies are using poets, but we almost always have about 5 poems.
And what I loved about reading post-war alternatives is you've got such variety. You've got poems and short stories and personal narratives and essays and sci-fi. I wasn't expecting the sci-fi. That was a wonderful surprise. That really pushed the boundaries out. Anything can happen in sci-fi. So I found it engrossing. It helped me look at our post-row reality so many different ways. It really expanded my consciousness.
Well, that's good to hear. So Jim Wright wrote us a wonderful essay, and I don't know. Are you aware of the works of Adam Troy Castro?
No, I'm not. Please tell me about them.
Oh, Adam Troy Castro wrote a wonderful story in there that not really science fiction, but it just kind of it was a riff on the concept of women kind of become invisible when they get pregnant, and the only thing that exists is the baby.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he took that into a literal uh, point, and he writes horror and science fiction and young adult, and he is deeply loved by his followers. And
Uh,
we're gonna have him on. So yeah, there is a variety. Did you get a chance to read Jim Wright's essay?
Yes, I did. And it reminds me of the short story. Maybe this is the one you're referring to where the pregnant women turn to glass.
Yeah, it's we have some wonderful stuff. I mean, in here, not only you, I mean, you've got poets that you're probably familiar with Jane Yolen.
Oh, absolutely. I taught elementary school, and her Owl Moon was a central part of my writing curriculum for second graders.
Oh, you're a teacher?
Yes, I'm retired now, but yes, Jane Yolen was a go to in my classroom. And she really demonstrated how not to just tell about things, but how to show where you are, what you're feeling. Um, you know, the little girl in the middle of the night looking for owls in the snow, she's breathing heavily and it's cold. And so you don't just tell that, you can show it through where you are and actions. And my kids got it through her literature. So that was tremendous. And yes, it was the Adam Troy Castro wrote With the Wheeze of a Glass Sentence for this anthology. And that was the one where the pregnant women turn to glass.
Yeah.
And some of them don't make it back because it's all about the baby.
It is a it is so good. I mean, we have I don't know if have that's one fun thing about it. This is that as the writers, you don't all of a sudden your story's out there by itself, and then all of a sudden you see the company you're in,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to say I think with you your poem is wonderful, and the people in this book with you are in some good company.
Oh,
Uh,
I recognize that immediately, and I feel very privileged to be part of this collection.
oh, they should be privileged to be in there with you too. Do not sell yourself short. You've got a great poem.
Oh,
Now,
thank you.
uh, was going to ask you, would you like to read it to the people?
I would love that. I will flip to my poem. Um, and I wanted to say something about it, that it was inspired by probably the the biggest and best influence on my young life, and that was my grandmother. I see her as a crone. She has she had the ages old wisdom to stand up against family and against church, who told her a different truth than what she owned. She recognized one basic truth: unwanted children suffer. And how can we, if we think of ourselves as humanitarians, how can we allow children to be born who we know will suffer? It makes no sense. If we value life at all, we won't bring children into the world who suffer. Um, and it was a tremendous moment when I realized she felt that way, because I thought I had her all figured out. Devout Catholic, 10th grade education, but she blew me away with her truth. Okay, I'm still flipping here. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. I forgot what page you were on myself. Oh,
Um,
man. You ever have that moment when you're reading, you open a book and you say, oops?
yes, not quite where you wanted to be.
Oh, it's a very minor oops, but um, I just have one of our authors' name is not on the same page as their story.
oh
But
dear, I don't think I noticed that.
oh, I since I'm supposed to keep stuff like that from happening, I notice it. But Yeah, your bio. When I was reading your bio, trying to get a good hint for of you, um, the it didn't mention that you were a teacher.
That is true. That's something I could add. When you're writing a short bio, you focus on the writing work, but my longer bio talks about how teaching writing to young children revived my writing because through them, I got in touch with my child, my inner child, and took a few more risks. Anyway, I've got the poem up, Bob, if you'd like me to read it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Just now, let me say something about it.
Sure.
Um, while I don't always send out acceptance slips immediately, yours was one of the poems that when I read it, um, I knew I was going to buy it the moment I read it. Um, the and we have 15 poems in this anthology, whereas normally we only put five because so many people expressed themselves so well in poetry, and you were one of them here, and I really, really liked it. So there's some folks out there. So I'm going to say, read away.
Well, thank you for that compliment. It means a great deal to me. And I know if my grandmother was here, first of all, she'd think it's crazy times like the rest of us do. But she would be so pleased that her core truth is being told. The poem's called Unwanted. July 1973. Protesters decry Roe v. Wade on TV. I watch on vintage green couch next to Nana. I relish this time, this place. Lady slippers in the woods, cardinals at the feeder, unpinning wilted wash in a sudden shower, crunchy, creamy bites of grilled cheese, even kneeling at Sunday Mass. But abortion rights? How could she understand? I am certain I can read her mind. I lay the silver, baked beans simmer. I think it's a good law, she says. Our eyes meet. There's nothing worse than an unwanted child. One word fills her tiny kitchen. Unwanted. No family, no home, no resources, no education, no acceptance, no opportunity, no care, no tomorrow, no heart beat. There's nothing worse. I know how she knows. Baked bean pool blurs on my plate. June 2022. Protesters decry Roe v. Wade. Others fight to save it. Too late. Choice denied to low-income families, single mothers, teens with consent. 10-year-old rape victim. Y'all want to see the new Elvis movie? Grand girl asks between bites of buttermilk pancakes. For sure. We relish this time, this place. I wrap cool fingers around warm mug. Our eyes meet. I have something important to tell you. I think it was a good law.
That was phenomenal. Lou, as I was telling, and we've been joined by Lou Berger.
Hi,
Lou
Lou.
Berger is
Hey, Kathleen.
out of the Colorado part of the country, a wee bit purple over there.
Yep.
And Lou was so instrumental in helping get this book out that I don't know if we would have made it without him. Because
You guys.
oh, come on, Lou, you knew we were going. You see these black circles under my eyes? They weren't there when we started this book. But I got to say, Kathleen, that was a beautiful poem. And the I just loved, and it was reminded me as I was reading. Could you read the line that has uh, the simmering beans on it again?
Sure. It goes, I lay the silver, baked beans simmer.
Now, I will tell you, not having you there to read it, when you first sent that into us, there was no comma between
Yes,
silver and baked beans. You know
this
how
is true.
long I spent looking on the internet for something called silver baked beans?
And
Well,
hence the need for a comma.
oh yeah, I mean, for want of a comma, a poem was lost. But Lou can tell you the how important it is as you are uh, verifying uh, the um, details in the works, because you do fact checks on all sorts of little things.
Sure.
Um, for example, there was a woman who made millions selling literally selling I don't abortifacients, the
Yep.
chemicals
Uh,
that would induce
uh-huh,
abortions.
uh-huh.
And one of the stories, they said that she was running an abortion clinic. It's like, no, she was running a mail order business. Uh, and there were abortions that went on, but hey, you're back.
I'm back. The click of a mouse and I'm back. I'm so excited. I'm
I
sorry,
love
Bob. Go
it.
ahead.
Oh, no, the thing is, I was going to say, is all that did is that editing an anthology like this with people that have so much knowledge in what they're writing, you learn loads just because you're in there looking for stuff. You're wanting to verify that this reference is correct, or trying to find out what a silver baked bean is. But it was amazing to realize until I looked up on that. I always thought baked beans were kind of something that came in a can.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Pretty
and
much.
the idea that in some places baked beans are put on the back burner of that stove and they simmer all day long.
Right. Right.
So Lou, I know we don't have you very long, but what do you? What was your happy moment in this anthology?
When Adam Troy Castro said he said it enthusiastically, I was like, I said, Adam, I really want to edit your story. I like your writing. You inspire me. Is there any possible way I can do it? And then there was silence. And then the next day I'm like, hey, I know you're probably thinking it over, and can I edit your story? And finally he said, oh, okay, I guess, like that, which to me was huge, huge.
Oh, and you did a fantastic job.
I
Now,
love that guy.
Kathleen, you read Adam Troy Castro's story.
I sure did. The Glass Women. Very haunting.
I tried doing a little bit of editing on it to give some feedback on a place that I thought, well, maybe this could be better. Hell no. It was
Right.
like
Right.
it was like this tapestry, and I'm there with a big ball of yarn, and it's like, man, nothing I could do could improve on that work. Um,
Right.
and but I give Lou credit there that he went in and he braved that tempest because it was so tightly woven.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Adam on here a week from Sunday, health permitting, and I am just uh, want to hear him talk about it. The because it's good. So outs now we both of you have talked about Adam Troy Castro's. Give me another story or some piece in this book that touched you, Kathleen.
Oh my gosh, there were so many. Um, but, and I don't know if I'm associating the right title with the right piece. Oh, there were so many, but the woman who was raped by her coworker because everybody went out after work to a bar and he called her to the
Baby.
restroom and raped her. Yeah, is that called Dear Baby? Yes.
Dear Baby by
And
Marla something. Yeah.
and that because of that, I mean that criminal injustice that was done to her, she then was imprisoned.
And the
And
story, yeah.
very disturbing.
Well, what I loved about it is it was a one line what was done to her, one or two lines. Her response to it, her fighting back, um, is what the story was about, and I just I love that because I tell you what, if you want to read stories about oh woe is me, I'm a woman in a man's world, and now they've taken away my rights, those evil men. Oh, what am I going to do? Um, no, then you need to find a different book because these women are they fight back, they
Yes.
stand up. It's I was so impressed with all the writers.
Well,
Men,
and
go ahead.
the other thing that really hit home for me, it was one of those short stories that was set in the future. And obviously, our social societal circumstances had deteriorated in that future. And you go, whoa, wait a minute. We think we're in a bad place right now. But what about a future where 40 states ban abortion, where there are criminal proceedings against women, where they're incarcerated? So, what registers is maybe those exact
Oh, that was
circumstances won't happen, but things can get worse from here unless we do stand up.
Letters from a Women's Prison by Stephanie Weipert.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie is she is one of our unsung gems because she's not hugely published. When she does publish with us, it's really good. She was actually the very first book we published. She was the very first person to review it.
Mm.
Um, and but no, she's written two stories along that line of letters from a women's prison, and in working on this one, we made it clear to her that it would be, if you really want to have a book about women's rights, have them be letters from a women's prison about what they did to get into prison, because you
Right.
can find that out by going back to World War I, where they put women in prison, starved some of them to death uh, for speaking out against the war, for being suffragettes.
Mm-hmm.
The 19th Amendment couldn't have come too quick. Um, but now, Lou,
Yes.
let me throw you that same curveball question that says, what, I mean, I know that I'm Troy, but since you edited and you're a friend,
Yes.
if it wasn't for the fact that I knew just how good the story was, I'd take that with a grain of salt. But no,
It's
that
good.
story is awesome. Um, but what's another piece in the book that makes you feel the urge to call out and say, hey, man, if you're going to read a book, here's a story that'll stand up to you?
I want to read one paragraph from Adam Troy's story. It's so powerful. Can I do that?
Oh, go ahead. Read a paragraph from Adam Troy's story.
And the reason is when I read this, I had to stop and step away from the computer because the world became too blurry for just a little bit. And this is somewhere in the middle. We've got the setup. We know the
Now
ending's coming. We don't know what's going to
set
happen.
the poem up, or I mean,
It's not a
set the
poem.
paragraph.
The paragraph it's in the middle. She is glass. She has become glass. And as glass, she cannot speak. She can think. She can see. She can't be seen. She can't be heard. And she is there waiting, interminably waiting for the baby to be born so that she can rematerialize as human. Because in this moment, she is not important. She is without effect on the planet or without effect on the world. She can't even breathe. She's lost everything about who she is. Everything is focused on the fetus. So she's come to terms with it in a long time standing waiting, because every moment is forever. She says she thought that, I'm reading now, she thought that if she could look down at her feet, she would see a fine little halo of the little pieces of herself that had already broken off, that were, by their very presence, testimony that more would continue to break off until there was nothing left of her at all. The pain alone was not enough to make her scream, but she did scream, even though she would not be heard, and even though it had never been her lot to be heard. I had to walk away.
Adam did a great job, and you did a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
It's funny when we started talking before you came on. That was the first story that Kathleen mentioned, was this story.
Yep.
But now we have, in the very closing piece of the story, we have a self-proclaimed Nigerian revolutionary. Oh, yeah, I got her to tone it down a little bit so that I didn't find a Nigerian death squad waiting outside my house. Um, but a powerful story that just, when I was reading the ones that just like, or an essay, just like I told you, Kathleen, when I read your piece, I knew I was going to buy it. When I read her piece, I knew I was going to buy it. And the beautiful thing about having as many editors as I had helping me on this, like Lou and Irene Radford and Manny Frischberg, Tom, well, the list could go on. None of them not all of them knew what I was doing. So I got to sneak some stories in early, uh, just based on having people's rating them. Uh, but if you think we have it bad here, uh, abortion is criminalized in Nigeria, and women go to prison for it. And this is a woman who stood up and said to the government, I had an abortion. What are you going to do about it? Um, and is encouraging um, people. She quotes her heroes. And what's really sad is when I looked them up, like I said, publishing an anthology is an opportunity for research, and I loved it. They all got guillotined. Yeah, none of them survived to a natural end. So I just like the idea. We've got so many great stories in here, and what you said, Kathleen, is the variety that you were surprised that we put science fiction in. Um, this is one of the few books that we've published that hasn't been published under a science fiction banner. Uh, the it's just this was I'm still just kind of gobsmacked by the stories that are in here, um, and the fact that we got to put our fingers on them and help make them better. Now, I still ask you that story. You want to give a call out to another story that you think might inspire people?
Yeah. Becky Kyle wrote a story about a senator getting his just desserts for having not only introduced legislation to remove the right to abortion, but also the kind of guy that will drug and rape a woman just because, this is the ultimate in misogyny. A goddess comes down and achieves the form of a woman that the senator would find attractive. And I'll read 3 short paragraphs from Becky's story. They arrived at a well-maintained gated condo complex, far away from the city center, with carefully manicured lawns. Each offered private, discreet entrances, windows equipped with tightly drawn curtains. "Would you like a drink?" Senator Simpson asked once they were inside, the door locked behind them. "I'll have what you're drinking. I trust you," she said. It wasn't a lie. She fully trusted him to drug her and rape her while she was unconscious, and then, later, blame her drinking for the lapse of her remembering to give consent. It's just right to the heart, right to the heart of what this whole process is of the men that would take away bodily autonomy from women.
And that power.
Yes. Yeah. The power of the patriarchy used ill.
In some stories, that was one of the stories that went long. It went short. It went all over. And in the end, I had to applaud Becky for sticking with us because, these stories are wonderful things and they're very personal. Some of the things that I felt were shared with us was just wow. Now, since everybody else read a paragraph, I'm going to read a paragraph because I'm going to go back to gosh, I guess maybe I should have my glasses on. Oh, maybe I won't read a paragraph because I just realized I don't have my glasses on. So the another thing that I like to say thank you to is BQ Press has always donated a share of their proceeds to the ACLU. And at our first quarterly earnings report for our very first book, we were in deep and utter awe that we had raised something like $670 for the ACLU with that book. Now, before this book ever hit the streets, the authors on this had donated $431 worth of their pay. I mean, they literally said, "Don't pay me, give my money to the ACLU." And so the BQ Press gave up nothing. We donated nothing. I mean, well, a little bit. We gave them 3 extra shares. But just the idea that this cause means enough to the folks that they did that just totally made my day. And I was thrilled to death by it. Oh, I just realized we have a chat function where people watching that I didn't have turned on. And we had, you got praise for your poem. Somebody
did notice that.
Stephanie, wow, cool. Everybody liked what they've heard so far. Well, best thing I can say is go out and buy a book of it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. So if you get it on Kindle Unlimited, leaf through the whole book because that way everyone gets credit for it. It's a good world. Now, this is a kind of a short little hop onto the interweb to introduce the folks. Kathleen, I'm pleased as hell to meet you, and I'm
very nice meeting you, Bob, and Lou.
Yes.
Is good, and I hope that we can bring you back into other B Cube Press work, because you said something earlier that you're a what did you say about
a political activist poet, political and social justice activist poet.
Are you familiar with B Cube Press's other works?
I am now. I've been perusing them.
Oh, good, because I can tell you, Lou helped us put together. We started with Alternative Truths, not having a clue what we were doing, and this is our 21st, 22nd book. Still don't have much of a clue, but we've had Lou helping us on two of them, and the two that he's helped us with are really pretty good, because we hit our number one new release on this one. We haven't had aren't into the sustained bestseller yet, but I can tell you it's coming, because but Lou has been with us on the political activist side of it for a while. He didn't get into but the last book we published before this was called The Protest Diaries. It's stories from all across history. I mean, we think of ourselves out here these days as protesting a lot, the Pink Pussy Hats, Martin Luther King, Black Lives Matter. But the 19th Amendment, the suffragettes, they were out protesting labor so that they didn't have to work 16-hour days without protesting. There were marches for children's to keep children, get the children out of the factories. The notion, protest is what it takes to achieve change in this world, and I was pleased to be able to get out there and join some of the protests on the when they overturned Roe. This is a funny story, but my sister voted for Trump. Okay, all of my sisters who voted for Trump, as did my mother. But that's another story altogether. But this touched her, and so she, her son, and me went out, got our signs, and she's blind, so she put on her bonnet to shield herself from the sun, but sat out there and held her sign down on Main Street in Gatesville, Texas, protesting the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And any of us, all of us, can do things to help here. There's a piece I'm expecting to get in any day now from Jim Wright about what we got to do. And I think I told you the name of that, didn't I, Lou?
Yep.
Yeah, just show the F up.
Yep.
That's all it takes is voters show up. Because when the voter turnout is over 50%,
Democrats
Republicans don't win.
That's right.
America wins. And I'm not saying all Republicans are anti-American, but most of the anti-American people in this country are Republicans. So,
Bob, I wanted to interject. I love the fact that this anthology is dedicated to the voters of Kansas, because it is not a partisan issue. When enough people in this country have suffered and died because a constitutional right has been revoked, there will be an uproar. There will be more voters joining the voters of Kansas.
Oh, there will be. I mean, look, like you said, I dedicated the book to Kansas. I was born in Kansas. Kansas is a red state. I went to Texas. Went to Texas to get the accent, Lou. But
reckon you did.
But 58% of the red state in Texas voted to preserve a woman's right to choose. Now, if that had been left up to their politicians, they wouldn't have.
Kansas. Yep.
They'd have taken it away in a heartbeat. They thought they were taking it away. But it is good. So I tell you what, do you have any closing thoughts here, Kathleen?
Gosh, I think I'd like to evoke the poem. I won't read the whole thing, just the last stanza by M. Bellinger, How It Feels, because boy, has this theme played through my head. If you were alive in Germany when it all went wrong.
Ma'am, read the
Yes.
whole thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not long. How It Feels, M. Bellinger. This dizzy, breathless slide down a bank all mud and water with no handholds in sight, choking on such hopelessness and rage. I need to know we're not alone in this, that our suffocating trepidation will have some end beyond the obvious. Will there come a turning point where ordinary people can choose to stop? Will we even get that option? Who diverts the flood? If you were alive in Germany when it all went wrong, can you tell me, did it feel like this? Did it feel exactly like this?
That poem was very powerful. And I'm going to throw in another plug for one of our editors, Ellen Killian. Ellen Barnes, sorry. She worked with the author of that, provided a couple of edits, and turned that. It was just that was a case of a poet and an editor's brains just working together really good, and it was pleasing to hear the poet give such praise to Ellen, and so that be it. Now, hey Lou, say goodbye because we're all
Good night,
about.
Gracie. That's an
Okay.
old joke.
Thank
Hey,
you
thank
much
you.
for coming in, Lou. Thank you much for your work on this book.
Oh,
And
I
thank
loved it.
you, Kathleen.
I'm honored.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, Lou. Great
Thank
to
you. Nice
see
to
you.
meet you, Kathleen. Yep.
Okay, and I'll see some of you guys tomorrow night. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.